My name is Margaret. I'm 83 years old, and there are certain things you don't forget, no matter how many years pass. The sound of a voice, the way light came through a window, the smell of rain on hot pavement. That last one, it still finds me sometimes. I'll be standing in my kitchen or sitting on the porch, and the air will shift just so, and suddenly I'm back there, back to that afternoon, the one I spent 47 years trying not to think about. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knew your family, your business, your mistakes before you even made them. I married young, 22. His name was Robert, but everyone called him Bobby. He worked at the factory. I worked at the library. We had a daughter, Claire, when I was 24, and for a long time that was my life. Library, home, dinner, church on Sundays. It wasn't a bad life, it just wasn't mine. When I was 36, a man came into the library. His name was Thomas. He was passing through town doing research for a book he was writing, something about industrial towns and the people who built them. He needed access to old newspapers, town records, photographs. I helped him. At first, it was just work. I'd pull files for him, show him where things were kept, bring him coffee when the afternoon stretched long. But then we started talking, really talking. Not the kind of talking I did at home, where conversations were about groceries and bills and whether Claire needed new shoes. This was different. He asked me what I thought, what I felt, what I wanted, and I realized no one had asked me that in years. It went on for 6 weeks. He'd come in every afternoon around 2. We'd sit in the back room with the archives spread out between us, and we'd talk until the lights started to fade. He told me about the places he'd been, the things he'd seen, the life he'd built for himself, one that didn't fit into any box or expectation. And I told him things I'd never said out loud, that I felt like I was disappearing, that I loved my daughter, but I didn't recognize myself anymore, that sometimes I stood in front of the mirror and couldn't remember who I used to be. He listened. He didn't try to fix it. He just listened. One afternoon, it started to rain. It was late July, and the heat had been unbearable for days, the kind of heat that sits on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. But that afternoon, the sky opened up. The rain came fast and hard, drumming on the roof, flooding the gutters. The library was empty except for the 2 of us. We stood at the window watching the rain wash everything clean. And he turned to me and said, "Come with me." Just like that. Come with me. He wasn't asking me to run away forever. He wasn't asking me to leave my family and disappear into some fantasy. He was asking me to come with him for a few days, to see something beyond the town I'd never left, to remember what it felt like to be a person, not just a role. He said he was leaving the next morning, driving south. He'd be gone for 2 weeks, maybe 3, and if I wanted to come, even for a day, even for an afternoon, he'd wait for me at the edge of town at dawn. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Bobby, listening to him breathe, staring at the ceiling. I thought about Claire. She was 12 then, starting to pull away the way kids do, but still young enough to need me. I thought about what people would say, what my mother would say, what I would say to myself if I did this, but I also thought about what it would feel like to say yes, to get in a car and drive towards something I couldn't see yet, to be Margaret again, not just someone's wife or someone's mother. When the alarm went off at 5, I got up, I made coffee, I stood in a kitchen and watched the sun start to rise. And I stayed. I didn't go. Thomas left that morning. I never saw him again. He sent me one letter a few weeks later. It didn't say much, just that he hoped I was well, that he understood, that he'd never forget our conversations. I kept that letter for years, hidden in a book I never opened. Eventually, I threw it away. I thought that would help. It didn't.
Life went on. That's what people say, isn't it? Life goes on. And it did. Claire grew up. Bobby kept working. I kept going to the library, pulling files, shelving books, smiling at patrons who asked me how I was. And I was fine. I told myself I was fine. I told myself I'd made the right choice. But the rain stayed with me. Every time it rained, really rained, the kind that comes fast and heavy, I'd smell it. That same smell from that afternoon. Hot pavement, wet earth, something electric in the air. And I'd be back at that window, standing next to him, hearing those words, "Come with me." I didn't talk about it, not to Bobby, not to anyone. What would I even say? That I almost left? That I thought about it? That some part of me wanted to? You don't say things like that out loud, not in a marriage, not in a life you've built. So I carried it quietly. Claire moved away when she was 23, got a job in Chicago, met someone, built a life. She'd call every Sunday, and we'd talk about her work, her apartment, her plans, and I'd listen, and I'd be happy for her. But sometimes in the middle of those conversations, I'd think about that morning, the one where I didn't get in the car, and I'd wonder if she could hear it in my voice, the wake of the choice I made so she could have hers. Bobby died 11 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. He was 71. We'd been married for 49 years. At the funeral, people said we were lucky, that we'd had a long life together, that we'd built something good. And we had. We really had. But standing there, listening to them talk about us like we were one single story, I felt separate, like they were describing someone else's life. After Bobby died, I started going through things. Boxes in the attic, old papers, photographs. I found a picture of myself from that summer, 36 years old, standing in front of the library. I don't remember who took it, but I remember the dress I was wearing, light blue. And I remember what I was thinking about when that picture was taken. I was thinking about him, about whether I'd made a mistake, about whether I'd ever stop wondering. I'm not saying I should have left. I'm not saying that. Claire needed me. Bobby loved me. I had a life here, a real life. But I think I believed that staying was the same as choosing, that if I stayed, it meant I wanted this. And maybe I did, but maybe I just didn't know how to want anything else.